You twist open a small glass jar in your kitchen. There is a soft plastic squeak of the lid, and then a scent rises to meet you. It is warm, sharp, almost peppery, like a fireplace you could somehow taste. For a heartbeat, your senses stall. You cannot decide if this smells like a holiday dessert or a bitter medicine from an old cabinet. You pour a few into your palm. They look like tiny, dark, rusted nails. But look closer. You aren't holding wood or metal. You are holding a flower bud that was never allowed to bloom. Nature paused this plant at its most fragrant second, just so it could end up here in your hand. Now, ask yourself, how did something so small, something you can crush between two fingers, become the reason ships crossed oceans and empires went to war? This is the secret of the clove. The journey of a clove begins high above the tropical ground on an evergreen tree called Syzygium aromaticum. In the right conditions, this tree climbs steadily toward the sky, often reaching a height of 15 to 20 meters. But its true power isn't in the towering trunk or its glossy leaves. It is in a promise that is never kept. When the tree prepares to reproduce, it produces clusters of pale green buds. You can watch them mature, slowly blushing into a deep sunset red. They swell and tense, looking as if they are a single second away from bursting into a flower, but they never get the chance. Before the bloom can open, human hands intervene. Harvesters pluck these buds at the exact moment their oils are most concentrated, at the very peak of their intensity. Then they are laid out under the sun. Imagine the heat drawing out the moisture, hardening the soft petal tissue into a dark brown casing. This is why the clove in your hand has that unique shape, a round, bulbous head resting on a slender stem. It is a tiny, organic pin. You aren't just using a seasoning, you are using a living thing that was stopped in its tracks. You are holding a bloom that was frozen in time, just so its fragrance could belong to you. For thousands of years, cloves have been more than a kitchen ingredient. In the traditions of Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, they were treated as a sacred tool, prescribed to heal digestive issues, soothe colds, and in some ancient whispered myths, even sought after as an aphrodisiac. Modern science has begun to verify what your ancestors instinctively knew. Cloves are exceptionally rich in antioxidants and possess deep anti-inflammatory potential. When you consume them, they stimulate the secretion of digestive enzymes, helping your body process the world more smoothly. There are even studies suggesting that clove extracts might help regulate your blood sugar. But cloves carry a warning written in their own intensity. The secret lies in a compound called Eugenol, which makes up about 80 to 90% of clove essential oil. This is where the line between healing and harm becomes very thin. Because cloves are so concentrated, their potency is immense, especially in the form of oil. In a world that often thinks natural means gentle, the clove stands as a sharp reminder. Natural doesn't always mean mild. Sometimes it just means highly concentrated power. Use it without respect, and it moves from a cure to a toxin faster than you might realize. Cloves do not merely exist in your kitchen, they occupy your memories. In the West, they are the shorthand for the seasons. You recognize them in the warmth of a holiday ham, in simmering pots of spiced cider, or in the simple, ritualistic act of studding an orange with cloves to perfume a room. But move across the map and the clove changes its mask. In many parts of Africa and the Middle East, cloves leave the plate to become atmosphere. They are woven into perfumes and burned as incense, carrying an ancient belief that their fragrance can ward off negative energy and draw prosperity into a home. Then there is Indonesia, the birthplace of the clove. Here you will encounter the kretek. It is a unique blend of tobacco and clove that produces a distinctive rhythmic crackling sound as it burns. It is the sound of a spice reclaiming its fire. In your cooking, the clove is a master of depth. In sweet baking, it builds that unmistakable foundation of warmth. In savory stews, curries, and rice, it adds a bass note that you might not name, but you would certainly mourn if it were gone. Beyond food, the clove is a small ceremony. It reminds you that a scent isn't just a chemical reaction. It's a bridge to a place, a person, or a moment you thought you had forgotten. Today, cloves sit quietly on your shelf, but for centuries they lived in only one address, the Maluku Islands of Indonesia. When a flavor has only one home, human desire becomes a war map. Archaeologists found clove traces in Syria dating back to 1721 BCE. Think about that. While humanity was still learning to write, this spice was already crossing oceans. It traveled thousands of miles through ancient ports and desert caravans, traded in languages that changed every few miles. Traders weren't carrying seasoning, they were carrying a passport made of scent. By the Middle Ages, cloves were a luxury of power. They were practical too. In a world without refrigeration, they masked the taste of decay and preserved what was vital. Rare, portable, and valuable, the perfect ingredients for obsession. This tiny bud ignited the age of exploration. Empires like Portugal and the Netherlands fought bloody wars just to own these spice pins. It sounds dramatic for something so small, but history often turns on the things you crave most. Even in ancient times, cloves travelled farther than most people ever dared to dream. Archaeologists found traces of cloves in a ceramic vessel in Syria, dating back to 1721 BCE. At that time, cloves grew only on a few tiny islands in Indonesia, thousands of miles away. This means that while history was still learning how to write, the spice trade was already weaving the world together. Picture the chain of hands. A bud is picked green on a tropical island. It is dried into a dark nail, carried by boat across unpredictable seas, and then moved by caravan across scorching deserts. It is traded and retraded in markets where the language changes every few miles. The traders weren't carrying a mere seasoning. They were carrying something light, compact, and intensely wanted. A smell had become a passport. When a fragrance carries that much value, it ceases to be a plant. It becomes a reason to explore and eventually a reason to fight. By the Middle Ages, cloves had reached Europe, but they arrived as more than just a seasoning. They were a luxury for the wealthy, a signal of status so rare that owning them meant you held a piece of the world. But beyond the prestige, cloves were practical. In a world without refrigeration, they were a survival tool. They helped preserve food and improve the flavor of stored ingredients, making everyday eating feel safer and kinder. Rare, portable, and useful. These are the perfect ingredients for obsession. This obsession ignited the age of exploration. European powers didn't just want to buy cloves, they wanted to own the earth they grew in. Portugal and the Netherlands fought fiercely for control over the tiny territories of the Spice Islands. It sounds dramatic for something you can hold between two fingers, but history often turns on small things, especially the ones people crave. When a spice becomes a symbol of power, it is no longer just food. It is a reason for empires to rise and fall. Cloves don't just add a note to your dish. They change the whole chord. Their flavor is a paradox, warm and sweet at first, then sharply pungent, leaving a cold, metallic depth. In your gingerbread or pumpkin pie, Cloves sit in the shadows like a bass note. You might not taste them as a separate thing, but you would feel the sudden emptiness if they disappeared. In savory cooking, whole cloves release their aroma slowly, anchoring heavy stews, curries and rice dishes. They are the foundation of famous spice blends like garam masala and Chinese five-spice. But here is the law. With cloves, a little is not a suggestion, it is the rule. Using too many is like trying to unring a bell. Once the clove dominates the pot, there is no turning back. You can always add more warmth later, but you can never take it out once it has turned your meal into a medicine cabinet. Start smaller than you think. In the kitchen, as in life, restraint is the ultimate skill. Cloves smell like comfort and a dentist's office at the same time for a reason. The secret is Eugenol, a powerful compound that makes up about 80 to 90% of clove essential oil. Have you ever accidentally bitten into a whole clove? Your mouth goes quiet. Your tongue's volume drops for a moment, as if the world has been muted. This numbing power is why your ancestors used clove oil to soothe toothaches and freshen breath long before modern medicine could name the chemistry. It is also why you see it listed in toothpastes today. But Eugenol is more than a numbing agent. It is the clove's armor, packed with antibacterial and antifungal properties. Cloves aren't powerful because they are mysterious. They are powerful because they are concentrated. One tiny bud carries more chemical intensity than an entire branch of most other plants. It is a reminder that nature doesn't need to be loud to be effective. It just needs to be pure. The most common mistake happens in a normal kitchen. A recipe calls for a few cloves. You look at the jar and think, a few is nothing, so you add more. The kitchen smells incredible at first, but then you taste it, and suddenly everything tastes like a medicine cabinet. The dish isn't spiced anymore, it's been colonized. Cloves scale fast. A small increase in quantity doesn't add flavor, it stages a takeover. This is especially true with clove oil. It isn't just cloves but stronger, it is cloves condensed. Without restraint or professional guidance, too much can move from helpful to toxic. With cloves, strength is the point, but restraint is the skill. So, how do you choose the right ones? You don't need training, you need a 5-second check. Open the jar. The aroma should rise immediately, warm, sharp, and unmistakable. If it feels faint, the cloves are tired. Look for a plump, intact bud head and a slender, whole stem. Avoid the dust and broken shards. A good clove may even feel slightly oily to the touch. That is the essential oil. Still present, still alive. Cloves should never be shy. Their identity is intensity. If they have gone quiet, the story has faded. You don't need a degree in botany to find the best cloves. You only need 5 seconds and your instincts. First, open the jar. The aroma should rise to meet you immediately, sharp, warm and unmistakable. If you have to lean in and hunt for the scent, the cloves are tired. They have lost their spirit. Next, look at what you are holding. A high-quality clove should have a plump, intact, bulbous head and a slender, whole stem. You're looking at the remains of a story, not the story itself. Finally, use your touch. A good clove may feel slightly oily, not wet, but alive. That is the essential oil still trapped inside, waiting for your heat to release it. Cloves should never be shy. Their entire identity is built on intensity. If they have gone quiet, it means the essential oil has evaporated, leaving behind nothing but a woody shell. Choose the ones that still have something to say. Back in your kitchen, you screw the lid onto the jar. The soft plastic squeak returns, small, ordinary, familiar. You place it back on the shelf where it settles in the dark. On the outside, nothing has changed, but the scent lingers on your skin, warm and sharp, like a memory you didn't plan to visit. This is the real secret of the clove. It doesn't just flavor food, it flavors moments. It slips into winter kitchens, family recipes, and the steam rising from a shared mug. It brings with it the quiet assurance that warmth is on the way. Once, this tiny spice pin was valuable enough to pull ships across oceans. Now it sits quietly in your palm, doing the same thing in a smaller way, shifting the mood of an entire pot with almost nothing at all. Because presence isn't about size, it's about what remains after you've walked away. Next time you reach for cloves, use them gently. Let them support, not dominate. Notice how something so small can still change everything.
If this changed the way you see that little jar of cloves, tell me, how do you use them most? If you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories inside everyday ingredients, consider subscribing. Don't miss the next small secret.